Hello, everybody. Welcome to the webinar. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Realize people are around the world. Where is everybody today? I'm in Langley, British Columbia. It's on the west coast of Canada. I realized recently not everyone even knows what British Columbia is if you're from somewhere else in the world. So yeah, British Columbia, west coast of Canada. I've also got Nandi, who's my teammate here at Browse AI, who will be in the questions, answering things while I'm presenting, as well as presenting some of the pricing a little bit later on. Where is everybody? Belgium. See, I don't know that Belgian people know what British Columbia is. Yeah, very cool. Langley, by the way, it's not far from Vancouver. You've probably heard of Vancouver, British Columbia before. I'll let Nandi post in the comments also where she's tuning in from. Yeah, there we go. Gulf Coast, US. Nice. So today is advanced robot training techniques and workarounds. So it's not necessarily for complete newbies or super basic, although I am going to cover some slides with terminology, which should help to clarify if anyone's not quite sure what anything is. Maybe you're pretty new and you haven't had a chance to dive in much, but I do like to do these a bit more advanced ones in case you've maybe hit a roadblock or a bump in the road and you're like, I don't know how to get around this. So just to open your mind a little bit to some possible ways to do things a bit more than the obvious. Colombia, nice. All right, so let me turn off this music and we'll get into some slides. The recording will be sent to anyone who's on this call. So don't worry about that. Recording will come. And also, yeah, a few slides, then live demo, and then questions. You can also ask questions as we're going throughout, and Nandi will be in there to answer. So I guess, first of all, who am I? Who is this guy talking to you? My name is Nick Samard. I've been at Browse AI since August of 2023. It's coming up on 2 years. It's kind of crazy. Before that, I worked at Zapier for 7 years. So if you're familiar with Zapier, it's an automation platform, workflow, much more now. But I started there as a customer champion and then went into customer success, community manager. So I got to touch all the apps, get into APIs, automation, all that kind of stuff. I kind of fell in love with no code, and then AI came along and I actually bought the original Browse AI lifetime deal. I wasn't sure what I wanted to do with it, but it seemed like a really cool product. Maybe that's where some of you are right now. You're like, seems cool, don't quite know what to do with it. So Browse AI, in a nutshell, you can extract data from any website without having to know how to code whatsoever. It's very easy. That is one of our claims to fame, is it's super easy to use Browse AI. If you've ever used any other tools, you'll probably see that contrast. You can monitor websites for changes automatically. So you set up a schedule that you'd like to go check that website for changes or new data and have it scrape. You can integrate into your existing tools. So we've got native Google Sheets and Airtable. And then, as mentioned earlier, I used to work at Zapier. We have a Zapier integration, Pabbly, Make, REST API, webhooks, AWS, S3. And that's just a few of the reasons we're trusted by over 500,000 users worldwide. It's a very flexible solution, anywhere from startup to enterprise. So you might be a single person, solopreneur, freelancer. You might be a small, medium business. You might be a large company. Anybody can use Browse AI. So first, a little bit of terminology. Robot. The robot is the assistant that you're going to train that then extracts and monitors web data for you. So anytime you want to go scrape a particular website, you are training a robot to do so. The origin URL is the starting web address. We say starting because you can go to a website and then click some things, maybe some filters, do a search, some tabs. So the origin URL is where you're starting on the website, not necessarily where you're ending up with scraping the data, but it's where the robot is first going. Input parameters are variables you can change every time the robot is going to run. So search is a big one, the most obvious one, where you go to a website, you type something into a search box, and then moving forward, as you can see in the screenshot, you can enter those search terms for future scrapings of that website. So it makes it a bit more flexible than having to train it on a particular search or use a URL parameter or something like that. So you can just search right in that box. Task is the individual data extraction job that you're about to going to complete on your behalf. So in the screenshot here, each one of these was a task. So each of these times it went to a website, scraped it, that's considered a task. Now, how you pay for task is credits. That determines your usage limits on Browse AI. So credits, on average, unless you're scraping a premium website, which takes more credits, 1 credit will get you 10 rows of data. 1 credit will get you a screenshot. 1 credit will get you a single page of data. So static text on a page, for example. So one page would be a credit. Just be aware that's how you pay for the tasks. A bulk run is when you run multiple data extraction tasks by processing a list of URLs. So not just one URL at a time. You could have a CSV that you upload with dozens, hundreds, thousands of URLs, and you go scrape all those URLs. So a bulk run will happen when you upload multiple files, or it can also happen via a workflow as well. Tables exist directly within Browse AI, where you can view, organize, and export data that's captured in your robots. So you can send it elsewhere, or you can also view it and kind of manipulate and filter and export via tables right within Browse AI. As I mentioned, monitors, it's an automated tracking system. As you can see in the screenshot, you could have it run every day, every week, every hour, schedule of your choosing, and then you choose the website you want to go scrape, how many items you want to scrape, if there's any search terms you want to put in there, which is be an input parameter, and you can create multiple monitors if you want for one robot. Deep scraping is one of those concepts that I think a lot of people probably aren't as clear on how Browse AI handles it. So essentially, you're extracting a list of items from some sort of overview page. Could be people, products, places, and then you go into each of those. A lot of people call it clicking into each of those to scrape the details of them. So it's not one robot, it's a two-robot system, but that's called deep scraping. Robot Studio is the latest and greatest intuitive interface for training robots. It's what we recommend to start with most times. It's where all the development's happening. So we started with a Chrome extension. Chrome extension is still available, and I'll show you a couple of instances where it's actually maybe worth trying the Chrome extension. But Robot Studio is the newest option that we're working on. Capture list. So when you go to capture text, there's two options, list or just text. List will be obvious, hopefully, because it's a repeating pattern. So think of a list of properties or of people or products, things that look very much like, I want to capture all these things that are of the same type of data. There's an asterisk there because you might think you only capture lists on an overview page or a category page. You can capture lists from a detail page as well. And capture text would be more like you go to a detail page, maybe get for that single person, product, or place, the name of it, the SKU, the price, things like that. Now there's an asterisk here as well because you can capture text on a page that you might think is just for overviews. So list and text, two different ways of getting data. You can capture both on one page if you want. Pre-built robots, if they work for you, are fantastic. If it gets you exactly what you want, we've already built them, we've refined them to get what we think are probably the data points you want from hundreds of different, not hundreds of different websites, but hundreds of robots for different levels of websites. Some are lists, some are details. So if you go to Browse AI and pre-built robots, you can check out to see if any of them work for you. Workflows let you connect two robots to have them work together. So deep scraping is a big example of why you have a workflow. So one robot gets the list, one robot gets the details, you connect them via a workflow. Integrations, as I mentioned, we have native integrations with popular tools, and thousands more are available via the automation platforms. All right, that's it for definitions. Hopefully everyone's kind of a bit more clear than they were on what everything means. Here are just some of the use cases. I'll take a sip of water as you look at this list. And also, I'm curious if anyone's got a use case they want to share. Doesn't have to be detailed, could just be very high level, but I always like to hear what people are doing with Browse AI. I do see a question there from Vitaly. I'll handle that at the end. That's not just a quick answer. So some of these use cases, competitive intelligence is a big one, tracking pricing, features, marketing, aggregating content from various places, market research, real estate. Another big one lately is LLMs, because LLMs can handle data that doesn't have to be super, super structured. So you can get data, export it, pop it into an LLM, and have it do all that analysis for you instead of using spreadsheets or databases, things like that. So let me drag you over to my other screen here, and I will start the live demo portion here. Okay, so just this morning, I tried this website, and it was meant to show an example of a case where pagination, this website, where pagination didn't quite work as well in Robot Studio, and so to try the Chrome extension. Turns out it doesn't load at all in Robot Studio. I don't know why. I've reported it. Maybe it's a bug, but it still works for the example of if something doesn't work quite right in Robot Studio, which I'll show you right here. Try the Chrome extension. Chrome extension can sometimes work when the Robot Studio does not. So I wouldn't give up entirely and say this doesn't work. You can always try the Chrome extension. So this error came up. I don't know if it'll be a forever error, if it's just a right now error, but it does not work in Robot Studio. No fear, try the Chrome extension. You could also reach out to support and say, hey, is this a bug? This isn't working. But you don't have to do anything different. From this one page here, start training robot, and then just use the Chrome extension instead. And Chrome extension does work. So it loads up. It's a bit different, and I'll show you in a minute what some of the advantages of the Chrome extension are. Sorry, the Chrome extension, the Robot Studio. So Chrome extension still works very well. Once you train the robot, everything on the back end after training, whether it's Robot Studio or Chrome extension, it all works the same. So it's not a lesser experience. In this case, it just does let me do it at all. So it lets me load it up and select things. I won't go through a bunch of details here. Just name one thing. I've already trained this robot. I could show you that one, but I want to show you that this does work. And I'll select pagination. This was the thing that originally did not work so well in Robot Studio on this particular website. But Chrome extension, for some reason, works a little bit differently, and it does work. So once I train it in the Chrome extension, I could just save that. That's fine. I've already done it. So I can show you right here with the extension, go to history, click into history, and you can see it did get all the products. So I guess the key is if something's not working either at all or not quite right in Robot Studio, definitely try the Chrome extension. Here's another example where Robot Studio doesn't quite do it the way I want it to. This is a website called niche.com. It lets you go search schools. So this would be a great source of data because I don't know that this database exists. So you can just make it yourself. But check it out. If I go to a page like this with all these schools on it, you'll see that we've got some stuff between the schools. Between number 3 and 4, there's these things here. There's an ad here. There's some stuff I wouldn't want to be scraping. So if I go to Browse AI and build a robot, and by the way, these two options, extract structured and monitor site changes, they both bring you to train the robot. This one just then immediately prompts you to build a monitor. This one does not. That's the only difference. You can always make a monitor afterwards. You haven't lost the opportunity. This is just if you know for sure you want to monitor, you can start with this one. But they both bring you to train a robot. Also, I don't need to log into this website. So this website doesn't require logging in. So I won't click that. And let's start training. So I'll show you in Robot Studio what this particular website will get me. Okay, so immediately you probably notice some differences, Robot Studio, compared to the extension. It's much cleaner. It's more guided. You've got all these options on the right. When I click capture text and from a list and click into a list, it immediately just gets me the data I want. So I don't have to go through and name each piece of data. So that's a huge advantage. Some of the reasons I would suggest starting with Chrome, with Robot Studio. And if it works for you, amazing, because it does save you some time. So notice here, number 4, 8, 9. So this is kind of a hint. Okay, it's getting something I might not want. I can collapse this and go see. I showed you earlier, but between 3 and 4, there's some things. And then 8 and 9, it's showing. Yeah, I don't want all of that. So in this case, I could just use this as it is. If there was no Chrome extension, I could just use this and then clean the data up later. Or I could just not use Robot Studio and see if the Chrome extension will let me do it a little bit cleaner. So I'll use Chrome extension here and capture list. And you'll notice that I'm able to get, if I move my mouse around just a little bit, I'm able to get data without getting those extra pieces that I didn't want. So the way we choose the boxes of data is a little bit different, I guess, in Robot Studio versus the Chrome extension. So this is an example of being able to do it a little bit more cleanly. So I won't go through and get all the data, but as you can see, there might be like one, but that's way cleaner than the other option in Robot Studio. So this is an example of a website where, because of how we are selecting the boxes of data in the list, you might prefer one or the other. Maybe Robot Studio does it where Chrome extension doesn't, or vice versa. So don't be afraid to try one or the other if you're not quite getting the results that you're looking for. So a couple of examples of getting something from the Chrome extension in case Robot Studio is not working. So that's one way around things. Something else to note on this website, which is very cool, but not super easy to do while training a robot, is you'll see these niche grades down here. This is not uncommon on a website where you can filter by clicking some buttons. So I could do academics A, teachers B, diversity B, sports A. This then changes my results, which, by the way, doesn't change the robot I train. I train a robot to scrape this. I can then get this URL right here and go scrape this data. That's fine. But what if I want a lot of different combos of these? I don't want to train a robot to click each one. We don't yet have a great way to have input parameters for this kind of thing because it's not something we can type. So it would get pretty messy to try and figure out all the possible combinations. But because you've got this URL that inputs all of these items, you could create those URLs. So I'm going to show you in a second some ways you could do that. Another example of why you might want to create some URLs is a site like this. Okay, so you've got some jobs here and you've got pages, but there's no pagination button. There's no next. There's no way to train the robot, hey, can you go to the next page? If I say this is the next page, that's the only page it's going to go to. So there's no next like there is on, is this an example of a page that has next? Probably should have had it. Yeah, so this right here, that's a next button. It will go to the very next page, regardless of what page you're on. But if you go to page 2, you'll see it's got page 2 up here. If you go to page 3, it's got page 3. So another example of URLs you could create, let's say it was more than 4 pages. Let's say it was, I don't know, 100 pages. And you do want to scrape all of them, but you don't want to have to do that manually. So this type of thing where you've got letters, or this type of thing where it's just increasing numbers, a couple ways you could do it. One would be to go into something like Google Sheets. I tried this first. I'll show you kind of an easier way than Google Sheets. But if you're familiar with this kind of thing, you create a URL over here, and then I can input the letters I want here. Let's say, I don't know, it could be price ranges or cities or whatever the thing is that you want combos of. You could create those URLs, export them as a CSV, and then import them into Browse AI. For something like businesses, you could just do the page numbers and then scroll down or drag down, and that makes all these URLs, again, pretty easy. Not ideal, but then you could import all those into tables and then run all those URLs. So that's another workaround. If it's not easy to train a robot to do all those things, you can create the URLs. Now, an even easier way than using something like Google Sheets is to use your favorite LLM. Well, that's ChatGPT, Claude, whichever one it is. I didn't super prompt this. I just asked it very clearly in language. I have URL format like this. I would like URLs constructed for the following sets of letter grades where you replace the letters above with the ones below. And I just put in some combos, A, B, C, D, A, all Bs, all Cs, all Ds. And then it did it. So it did it this way, not an ideal format. So it then just asked me if I wanted a CSV. And I was like, yep. So then it shows me a table version and a CSV. So that's probably easier than going into Google Sheets. Same with, I want to create a list of URLs. I have increasing page numbers at the end. So if I have this and I want to go all the way up to 65, can you create those for me? I'm not a master prompter. It might take a couple of back and forths, but just ask questions in plain English. And most times you'll get what you want. Like, how easy is this? And then a CSV. I didn't have to ask for a CSV this time. So don't be afraid to use multiple tools and to think outside the box instead of saying, oh, no, there's no pagination. I can't get these. Sure, you can. And then how you would do that is you would go to your robot. So I've got this one set up already, jobs list. It's trained on jobs. I can already, if I wanted to, there's only 4 here. So if I wanted to, I could just do page 3, copy this, come over here. I know there won't be 100 on page 3, but let's just do page 3. So I could do that. If there's only 4, I could just do them one at a time. You can also do them one at a time in tables, which I'll show you in a second here. Just want to have this run to show you that it does work. You could also create monitors if it's something you want to keep an eye on ongoing. So, excuse me. So it's like a jobs list, and there's going to be not ever more than 10 pages, but it kind of does vary on what jobs are there. You could set up monitors to go to each of those pages. Again, it's not ideal, but it's better than not being able to get it at all or having to do it manually. So using URLs when you can is a great way around when there isn't pagination. I'm about right out. Okay, I don't want to wait anymore. So I'll go to tables and show you how you could do just one at a time. You could do new row, paste that same thing, start extracting data, or you could import a CSV and then just use whatever you've exported from Sheets or your LLM or wherever you've got it from, and then just click to upload that, and it'll do what's called, I mentioned earlier, a bulk run. So a couple of examples of how to use some URLs for some flexibility. If you can't get something like pagination or very detailed click into options here that are not as easy to train. Now, speaking of easy to train and workarounds, there's a site called Quoted, and they've got an expert database. So if you're looking for an expert to speak on a certain subject, I swear these websites change every day I come to them. All right. Nope, that's not what I want. Quoted.com. All right, expert database. So this is a great example of a place where you might come and start clicking some options to narrow down who you want to see. Let's say I want CEOs and AI. Great, I could scrape this, but you'll notice, this is just a Google tracking thing. You'll notice the URL does not change when I click into options. So that's a little trickier. I could definitely train a robot to come in here and click just the options I want, and that'll work, but it'll work for the options I have taught it to do. But if you're an astute observer, you'll notice this particular website has also these search boxes. So I can type in the word CEO, press enter, and then it selects the box. I can type in AI, press enter, and then it checks off that box. So that's a bit more flexible. That is actually an input parameter. So let's train this robot to do that, and I'll show you how flexible it then becomes to do more searches in the future. So don't be discouraged if you've tried something like, oh, the URL, it changes like with the filters. I can just use that, and then that doesn't work. Look for something else. Like maybe the filters also have a search box. Not super common necessarily, but I'm all about finding workarounds and ways to accomplish things. So I'll type in CEO, press enter, and you'll see here on the right, it says all the steps. So we navigated here, we clicked, we typed CEO, we pressed enter. So the robot's watching everything I'm doing. And then I'll type AI and press enter. Okay, so now let's capture this list of items. And I guess since we're in Robot Studio, I will give you a bit of a tour in case you're not super familiar. So we give you an automatic name of the list. You could change it if you want. You could just call it experts. No big deal. Change your list name here. You can delete fields if you don't want them. Let's say you don't care about profile image, just remove that. You can also rename these. Call this expert name. So you can rename and delete these if you want. This little workflow available is indicating, hey, we see this link is showing up on each of these items. You could make a workflow happen there if you wanted to. Again, workflow is typically used for deep scraping. So keep an eye for these little glimmers that show up to give you some hints. So now we've got some items here. I'll say I want 100, and I'll select my pagination setting. So I'll scroll down to see what pagination is. In this case, it actually is scroll down to load more. Oftentimes, the robot will detect what that is and suggest it for you. In this case, it did not, but I'll just choose scroll down to load more. We've also got click on next page, which is very common. Click on load more, and we show little examples here of what each one is. Scroll down to load more. Scroll up to load more apparently is an option. I haven't seen that one as much. And if you don't have any more items or you don't want to load more items, you can just click no more items to load. So I'll do scroll down, and let's save this captured list and finish recording. expert list. I'll just put webinar so I know the difference. So when this runs, it's going to spin up a server in the cloud. You saw it a second ago, but I'll kind of walk you through this one. It's going to open Chrome, and then you'll see here on the right, it'll start to show you what it's doing. So 6 list items, and that'll go all the way up to whatever I have specified, assuming there are that many. You might say you want 100, there might not be 100. You'll get whatever there is up to your limit. Should have showed you a screenshot also, but I can do that in a second. So what I want to show you is after this is done, how we can go through and instead of CEO and AI, maybe we want to do founder and marketing. Founder and marketing should be 454 results. Let's make it a little bit shorter. Let's do female founder marketing, 152. Cool, that'll be good enough. Again, the URL doesn't change. If it did, I could just very conveniently do that, but that's why we trained it with some flexibility. All right, so this is done. I'll say, yes, looks good. And let's go here and type in founder and marketing. And I'll say, you know what, I'll say 200 because I want to get all 152. So let's run that task. So, oh no, I didn't, it won't be this because I didn't train it on that. It'll just be these two things. So founder, marketing, it won't get me all of them, but that's fine. It'll get me 200 of them. So Kelly, Elizabeth, Lynn, and Taylor. Let's see if those are the first ones that show up here. So when at all possible, try to think ahead of what you might want to search in the future, because you could train it to just come here and literally click in to some things. And maybe you've only got a handful of options. You could definitely train a founder marketing robot. You could train a CEO AI robot. You could train those to be very specific if you don't want to worry about someone typing in maybe a search that won't yield results or having to worry about what do I type there. So you could make it very easy by training specifically what you want, because you could get unlimited robots on the website with the new pricing at least. So 141. So this should get me 200. I wish I had realized I didn't check that box, but that's okay. All right, you get the idea. Let's do one more thing on this website. I want to actually show, let's click into a person and get some, no, this person doesn't have a lot. Let's do, it's a good example. All right, let's do a detail page. So now we've got a robot that gets the list of items. Let's do a detail page here. And I'll show you some things that are unique to a detail page that you might not be thinking would be the case. Let's start training a robot. I use Robot Studio. So as I mentioned before, you can capture lists and text both from any page. A page like this, you might think, oh, what list am I going to get from this page? I just want to get this person's name, just text. Get this person's name here, get their title, maybe their bio. Now notice when I move my mouse, by the way, I don't want just this first paragraph. I would want this whole section. So very slight mouse movements will get you varying details, varying levels of detail. So I would want the bio here maybe. And you might be tempted to think, oh, I want employment. And so I'll just get this whole box. You could, won't be as clean. You could do this and you could maybe toss it to an LLM and then it can sift out what to get. But first, let me name these items here. Name, title, bio, and now let's get some lists from this page as well. Let's see what could be a list. This looks like it's probably a list. It's multiple items of the same type of thing. So from a list, and there we go. But if you notice down below, there's a list item 4, and that's under media, and I don't want that. So again, very slight mouse movements will get you probably exactly what you're looking for. So now I only have 1, 2, 3. So I'll click in here and it scans each of these list items and gets me the details from each one. I could say 10 is the max. I'll say no pagination because I don't think that'll ever be the case if there is pagination. So I'll just say no more items to load. And I'll save that captured list. And at any time you can click in here to see, all right, here are my captured texts. Here's my career history. let's get more list items. What about this media right here? It's probably also list items. But again, see, when I hover here, it gets me what's above, and I don't want that. So I'm going to move my mouse around. 1, 2. Looks right. Cool. When you're naming lists, try and think generically. This is going specifically off this person. So I would just do media appearances. It's not always going to be about Thomas. It's going to be about whoever the person is. So just try and name things a little generic so it's not specifically based on the one thing you just trained it on. I'll do one last one. Let's do, say, no more items to load. Let's do story ideas here from a list. So again, I got to move my mouse just a little bit. It's 1, 2, 3. Perfect. Let's see if we name it articles. Yeah, good enough. But you can always name them what you want. Story ideas, 10, pagination, no more items. Save that. And the last thing I'll show you on this is, well, you know what? I'll show you headshots. Because these are also list items. You might be tempted to think, and I'll show you an example of a website where we had a user who came to one of our office hours sessions. He was trying to take screenshots of the images. And you can see why you might think that, because you can take selections. But it was breaking down when there was more or less of what he was looking to get. And so I showed him a way around that, which was exactly this. You get them from a list. These are all list items. So this means it's flexible, whether it's 2 list items, 3, 4, 5, 12. We know that it's a list, and so we get all of the items. And so I guess I don't have to show you the other website, but I might anyways. Because that one was a little less obvious that it was a list because it was a gallery. So check it out. So now say I want 10 max and no pagination. But let's also get a screenshot from this page to show you. Maybe I want to get a screenshot of, maybe, let's see, can I get a selection of all these tags here? So that could be interesting. Screenshot of all these tags. I don't know. Could be something I want to use. I could also capture a screenshot of a visible part of the page here, like when the page first loads. Call that visible. And let's just do another one just for the heck of it to show you all the things. Do the entire page. Okay, so we've got the captured text, we've got media appearances, story ideas, image gallery, career history, and then these screenshots. Let's be done and let's see what everything gives us. So now on the right here, you'll see it'll start to show more than just the list items. It'll show list items, static text, and also the screenshots I got. So it kind of shows you things are on the right track when you know what you've trained the robot to do. So yep, there we go, the static text, list items. It's going to go through all the multiple lists that I had it get, and then you should see screenshots show up here as well. And then I guess just for the heck of it, I could show you how to set up a workflow. Okay, so now you can scroll down and see captured text, career history, story ideas, media appearances, image gallery. I mean, this is pretty capture screenshots. Like this could be handy. You know, you could take these screenshots, toss this somehow to an LLM and ask it to evaluate things. Or this is what first, which one was this? Visible. Maybe I didn't do that one right. And then this one is the whole page. Cool. So I'll say yes, looks good. Actually, before I show you deep scraping, let's just go to a different person. Let's go to a different person and show that it does work with someone else who's got multiple items in each thing. Yep. Let's do this person, come here, and then run a task just one time. I don't want to save it to be default this one person. That is something you can do. You can change the default URL. I don't want to do that. I'll keep all these the same, and let's run that task. So even this, what I've done, would be much more convenient than however else you would be trying to do it. Clicking into people, copying, pasting, or whatever you're going to do. So worst case, if you even did them one at a time, let's say you filter down and you didn't have so many people. Whoopsies, that's a lot of people trying to click into very specific 136 results. I don't want to do it 136 times, and I don't have to, but still much, much better. Okay, so you get the idea. This is working here. I'll give it another couple seconds before I go into deep scraping. Actually, let's do this. Before I show you a workflow, let's go into the experts list here. Go to tables, go to export, which by the way, in tables now, you can hide columns, which is pretty neat. So if I go into experts, I can click these columns and I can hide things I might not want to see. These are browse AI specific. I might not want all of this stuff here. So I can hide all the way up to, yeah, I can hide whatever I don't want to see. And then that'll be in the export as well. So let's just export this as a CSV. Couple seconds here. This will change to download. I'll download the CSV and then I'll go to the second robot here, the source details. This is kind of a faster way of doing it if you don't want to custom create the exact format that we would want when you import. So to import, we're going to look for a column called origin URL because that's what we go to is the origin URL. So when I upload this, you'll notice something happens here. You'll notice that something looks like it's wrong. Uh-oh, everything's red. What's going on? That's because it looked for origin URL and saw, looks like the origin URL is the same for all of these because it got it from just that main list. But I can tell it, I actually want it to be, oh boy, so there's a lot in here. Which one was it? It was profile link, probably. Yeah, profile link. There we go. So now it's going to go to each of these different people. So let's start extracting that data. So this is called a bulk run. It's called deep scraping because we're getting the details from a lot of different individuals. And you can see here, it'll start about, how many do I have? 100 more, 120. So these are all queued. It'll start at the bottom and then work its way up. If you go to history, you'll see this bulk run right here is run by, that one by me? Yeah, that one's by me. And this is the other task that I started running a second ago. So let's now go build a workflow real quick. There's a couple ways to do it. I can go to the run task page and no, this one already knows. I'll show you from scratch. Go to workflows, click add new workflow, call it whatever you want. Call it source lists to details, maybe source list to details. And then click the first robot. This is the one that gets you the list of items. So I call this like the feeder or the funneler robot, the one that feeds the robot that gets you all the details. So this is the feeder that is going to get all the data into the finisher or the finalizer, the one that gets you more details. Origin URL is profile link. You want to be very clear on what you name things. I didn't name any of this. I just kind of let the robot do it, but be very clear on what you're actually naming things, so this is easier for you. So profile link is what I want. These can all stay the same at 10, that's fine. Now this is the important part, the filter. This decides when do you want robot B to run. Do you want it to run always? So anytime robot A that gets you the list of items, finds stuff, you always want to run B to get the details. Do you want to do it only if robot A finds changes, only if robot A finds new items, or if robot A finds changes or new items? I'm going to do always in case I decide to run this so that it will run. And then I'll save and enable that. Now, nothing has happened yet. I've just created the workflow to run when robot A runs, but robot A is not running. I haven't told it to. So I can either run a task or I can create a new monitor. So that's up to you whether it's a one-time thing and you want to just have it go right away or you want to create a new monitor. So that's the two ways you would run it. So don't forget that step. The workflow does the thing, but nothing happens until the first robot in the workflow runs. I guess I'll show you this last example. This was the site where he was coming to a page like this. It's used vehicles, and he was getting what he wanted. But then when he clicked into this gallery, he wanted these photos. So I'm going to copy this URL and show you why I could see it hadn't occurred to me because I work at Browse AI, so I know how I would do it. But it's good to see how a person might attempt a task thinking in their mind logically. So he was coming here and he was opening it up and thinking, well, I want to capture screenshots. Oh, this is actually good. I've been spotted. So when there's some bot detection, we try an alternative method. And every time I think I've seen this, I think I've gotten to the data I want. So it's good. I want you to see this because this is not something you'll easily do in a Python script, I'll tell you. Okay. So let's give it another second to fully load. This is a tease. I can see it, but can't interact yet. Sometimes I'm impatient and I just refresh it. I won't hold off, but okay. All right, so you click into here, and this does work. The robot will do this, but he was clicking into this icon here, and then he was doing capture screenshot, and then selections, and then doing this. So like item 1. But if this one has, let's say, 7, and the next one has 10 or 12, he wasn't getting those other ones because those didn't exist. And so, as I mentioned before, you don't do it that way. You do from a list. I always try from a list when I see a grid, columns, anything like that, where it seems like that could be the way to do it. It might not do it now because I've started something else. But it does work. So I tried it earlier. Let's just try clicking in again and not doing a screenshot. So here you go. So just like on the other page with the headshots, now we get the URLs. And he was thrilled. He was like, oh, I can easily use those URLs. So it got him exactly what he wanted, in a way that he had not thought to try and get it. So I think that is, you know what? One last thing I'll show you as a workaround or a tip or a trick. This website here for Vancouver Web Summits. The event just happened recently, and I wanted to point out that sometimes a smart web designer doesn't want to repeat from scratch all these various pages that have similar things on them. So this one is event partners, this one is attendees, this one is featured startups. I only trained a robot on one of these pages, but they all look pretty similar. So you could always train it on one and then change the URL on the robot to run a different page. Now, it won't be 100% accurate if you've got slightly different things, like some of them are names, some of them are company, but you might be tempted to train a bunch of robots when the components are kind of the same across these pages. So that was the same, as well as the detail page that pops up. So this is for a speaker, this is for a startup, and this is for, they have like a beta program, and this one was for a company or a partner. So all these look the same, right? So you don't necessarily need to train separate robots for each of these different types of thing if they have a similar layout. And I'll show you, I'll cancel this, get out of here, and I'll show you what that actually looked like. I only trained literally just one robot, just one robot. I first trained it on speakers, and then if I go into history, you'll see I want speakers, I want attendees, featured startups, and event partners. And if I pop into tables, you'll notice it's not perfect, so you might want to make multiple robots. But under name, we've got, I tried to name it flexibly enough that it worked across all of them. So under name, you've got either the person or the company name, and then title, company profiling. So if ultimately you just wanted, what is the name of the thing? And then I want a link to the detail page, which would be this profile link. And then I want a bit of extra info there, which would be like maybe these bios, maybe location and what's down here. You could do that pretty easily. It's two robots, and then you feed it the different URLs. So that'd be my final tip for you: is if a page on a single website, not different websites, but a single website, looks like the components might be the same, try a URL that's different than the one you trained it on to see if it'll get it. Could be e-commerce site, maybe different product pages look similar, not identical, but pretty similar. The underlying programming and structure could be compatible more than it looks to the eye. So that's the last bit. Let's go to Nandi with a bit of info about our pricing. Pricing is a little bit different now than it used to be, and just walk through some of the options for looking at for pricing.
Hi, everyone. I hope everyone can hear me. First off, thank you to everybody that took the time to join us today. Like I mentioned in the chat, my name is Nandi. I'm part of the sales team here at Browse AI. And I'm kind of like the pricing expert. So I'm here to talk a little bit more about the different plans we have and different categories and what's included in each plan. So these three plans you're seeing here are our self-serve plans. So it's kind of like do-it-yourself. Browse AI offers 3 flexible pricing tiers to match your specific needs. For one-time data extraction, our personal annual 12K plan gives you approximately 100,000 rows of data with unlimited robots and 5 websites for $228, with all credits upfront at a 20% discount. If you're just starting with ongoing data extraction, our professional 5K plan provides 50,000 rows of data monthly with unlimited robots and 10 websites for $87 a month, which will be on a month-to-month basis. For larger, like maybe migration needs or a larger volume of data that you'd be scraping on a monthly basis, our professional 60K plan delivers about 600,000 rows of data annually with the same features for $828. So each plan includes multiple team members now, 3 users for personal and 10 users for both professional tiers. However, we can go to the next slide. We do have another option or another category. If you are somebody that's like, I just don't have the time to set anything up myself. I'd rather just get the end result or the data that I need, and I'll be good to go. Then we have our premium managed services. So for organizations with either complex data needs, our premium managed solution starts at 500 USD monthly, paid annually. This is kind of like a white glove service, and it includes a personal consultation with either me or one of my colleagues to understand your requirements, followed by a free data sample. Our experts handle everything from setup to ongoing extraction monitoring, dedicated account management, as well as delivery. And even if you need like any specific data transformation, so you need the data to be transformed in a particular way after it's extracted, or you need any specific integrations into your internal systems, you just tell us what you need, you consult with us, and we get you the managed services that best fits your use case. So you can just get the data and focus solely on using the insights rather than having to spend the time on extraction yourself. The best part is that we'll have you up and running in just 10 days with our experienced data extraction team. So yeah, that's pretty much all the plans we have right now. Hopefully the self-serve category is pretty self-explanatory, but if you're still a little bit confused about pricing, you're not really sure about which direction to go, whether you want to do self-serve or managed, you should definitely speak with me. I can take more of a deeper dive into your use case, and I can point you in the right direction. So I'm going to send my calendar link in our chat right now. So if you'd like to just talk about your use case, or if you need any help, more so if you want to talk about pricing or plans, I would recommend that you book a call with me. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you, Nandi. Yeah, if you want to drop your link in there, that would be great. I do see a few questions that were asked. So Vitaly asked, let's see if I can pin this into the long question. I'm looking to know how to browse logs into websites. How's it deal with CAPTCHA and other anti-robot techniques? I'd like to offer the scraper to others to use my scraper. Will this break the ability to log into the websites? Because when I train the robot, it uses my login details of the website, right? So a couple of levels of question here. Let me paste a help article here in the comments about how handles CAPTCHA and reCAPTCHA. You can't do those things in the training of the robot, so you can't train it to do those things. But on the back end, when the robot gets to sites, we do have a lot of bot detection. One of the options I showed said we've been spotted, and then we try some other methods. So we do handle that stuff, and you can read that article to see specifically what we can handle in terms of that. If it's not working, you could always reach out to our support team, and they could check it out, that site specifically, and what's happening, might be able to help you out in some way. But otherwise, they could definitely confirm that it might be some sort of custom CAPTCHA. Any of those ones where it says like pick the 7 sailboats or whatever, like I think that's probably a trickier thing. In terms of offering the scraper to others, if you train it on your login details, the robot will reuse that login info, either the session cookies or the login info in the future when the robot runs. So they'll never be privy to any of that. It'll just work with whatever you've set it up to do. Hopefully that answers your question. I do want to add one more thing. On Fridays, we have what we call like Ask Me How sessions, like office hours. Show up. It's more one-on-one help, so we can talk through things. You can screen share. We can get into your specifics and details. So definitely something to check out if you have some questions that are a bit more detailed and nuanced. Oscar asks, oops, let me go to questions. What if, for example, I need to click in somewhere that opens up a pop-up without URL changing? This happens in, for example, Facebook ads library that you have to click on see details when there's more than one ad gathered together. The answer you won't love is it probably depends. Honestly, there's lots of various ways websites do this type of thing with pop-ups and modals and links. I would try it. The best case is you just go in, train a robot to try and do that thing, and then try and replicate it. So it might work in the training of the robot, and you think, oh, this works. But try and replicate it with a different URL and see if it will gather what you've asked it to do. Again, some websites are easier than others. Some websites probably try and actively prevent you from doing that type of thing for obvious reasons. They could be abused and misused. So I would try it. I would try and do it. And if you can't, again, reach out to our support team and say, this is what I'm trying to do. Should this be possible? Am I just not doing it right? Is there a better way I could be doing this? And they might even have some tricks up their sleeve. All right, this last one is a long question. I'm searching for the opportunity to connect Chatbase with Browse AI and set up a scenario. My students ask for good ideas for new pieces to play. Then the Chatbase bot searches for ideas and gives the students a list of pieces, but searching for accurate links to these pieces on YouTube and provide them to my students. So students get a list of pieces and the related links to this music on YouTube. Is this possible? I don't 100% know where Browse AI falls in with this. You can train a robot with Browse AI to scrape data. You can put that into a database, and then you can use that data. We even have some people who build applications that a search is begun somewhere, and then via the API or something like Zapier, you could run a Browse AI robot and then return data. It's not going to be instant because we do still need to run the robot and get the data. So a couple of ways of doing it would be train a robot, and then I'm not super familiar with Chatbase, honestly. Let me just take a quick look. AI agents for customer service. Yeah, add source. You could add it. Yeah, you could add a source. I don't know what they have, but you could add maybe an Airtable or a Google Sheets source. So powered by Browse AI, and then they could maybe chat with those sources. So that could be a pretty cool use case. Other than that, you can't yet really say, hey, robot, do some work for me. Like Browse AI robot. I mean, hopefully that answers the question. Live questions. Let's see. Oh, had I not paste? Yeah, the office hours right there, the Zoom link. Cool. Yeah, office hours are great. Last office hours, we solved problems right there. Someone, again, with the gallery, was like, that's exactly what I need. And then someone else wanted to do something that wasn't quite possible, and I gave him a bit of a workaround, and he solved it. As I was talking to someone else, he's like, cool, I figured it out. That works. It's better than my sloppy workaround. So yeah, show up, ask some questions, share your screen, give some details on URLs and what you're trying to do, and oftentimes we can solve it right there. ChatGPT or Chatbase offers often wrong links in YouTube because the knowledge is too old. Oh, gotcha. And to give browser AI the list and get it back as an answer. I don't know about getting it back as an answer in Chatbase. Maybe, I don't know. I don't know much about their API. If that's something that could happen semi-live, like you could have the chat bot call out to the browse AI runs the robot, scrapes the data. Now, the robot needs to be trained on the thing a person is asking. So if it is just a keyword search on YouTube and you want to return results, yes. If they say, can you also find me Reddit posts? Well, if you don't have a Reddit robot, that's not going to work. Maybe. I mean, it's a pretty thorough API. That dives into some dev stuff, but that's an interesting premise where you've got a chatbot and the chatbot gets kind of out of date information and you want it to talk to a robot. Again, it wouldn't be super instant, but maybe, I don't know. I'd have to look into this one. Our support team might be able to more quickly do that. They might be adept at API docs and what's possible and what's not, but that's a cool use case. Through Make. Okay. Yeah. Possibly. Yeah, I don't know how it happens on the chat-based side in terms of when there's time required to do a thing, because it would have to run through Make and then to browse the AI, return results, and go back to chat. I mean, if it only took a minute or two, that's still kind of cool that you could do that. As I say, if a database doesn't exist, make it. That's the beauty of browse AI is very niche and specific databases. You can't always find them out there, so you could make it. Yeah, you could also see if you could create a database ahead of time around some of the searches you know people tend to do or have done in the past. I know there's probably a lot of options, but that is an option as well. Maybe if you could add a Google Sheet or Airtable as a source. Again, I'm not super familiar with Chatbase in terms of sources you can add, but PDF, text, doc, uploading files. So maybe not. I'm not sure. Yeah, reach out to our support team. See if they have any suggestions or answers there. Anybody else with questions? Just about at time, probably over time. I called this one 45 minutes, but ran a bit over time. So thanks everybody for sticking around, asking questions. Good questions. Oftentimes people don't have questions, but guys are testing me. Guys came to the advanced training and came up with some advanced questions. Love it. Well, I will just, oh wait, a couple minutes. I've got 2 minutes. If you got to bounce, fair. I've got nothing else to offer, but if anybody else has a question they want to ask, go for it. Otherwise, office hours, a couple days from now. It's a great place to do it. Get some one-on-one or one-on several, but we've never run out of time. There've never been too many people that we couldn't get everybody's questions. I've just jinxed myself. All right, I'm going to call it. No more questions. We've got a minute. Thanks so much. We'll see you in the next webinar or maybe office hours. And as always, you can reach out to our support team if you have any questions. Book with Nandi if you have any issues with pricing or you want to see what a use case could cost and maybe get some managed services. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you, Nick. Bye.
Bye.